Okay, so I ended up buying a saxophone, tenor saxophone, for $80. First thing out of the way first, brought this nice Canon, Katie, what is this, a T?
It's a Canon Rebel.
Canon Rebel. Yeah, then I realized I forgot to bring the SD card, which makes that kind of useless. So Katie's been gracious enough to film this on her iPhone. Thank you, love you. So, long story short, buddy of mine hit me up. This was his father-in-law's horn. He played in the army band back through the 50s, 60s. So this saxophone toured around the world. Basically just wanted to get rid of it just to, well, his father-in-law passed away. His mother-in-law and him wanted to get rid of it just to give it to someone who knew what it was worth and would put it to good use. So what does $80 get you these days? Take a look at the logo over here. This is, it's pronounced Bisher. And the label is a true tone. They kept these cases for many, many years, but this is not a true tone. This is something far cooler. This is a 3rd series Aristocrat, which is basically, it's a model 156. Serial number dates this to 1950, 1951, somewhere around there.
The mold dates it to at least then.
Yeah, well, it does have a fresh scent right now, so that's actually basically in the pads. The case doesn't have that as much, which I'm thankful for, because pads I could replace. The case is going to be, I want to keep that upholstery because it's a tight fit, but yeah, he basically babied this thing. There's one little ping dent right there, but everything else, like the lacquerware, this is essentially furniture polish, so it always, you get it like a little red rod and it flakes around the engravings. That is most usually the case with these horns. Some spotting there. It was definitely used, but well taken care of. What I really like about this particular vintage, like if you pick up something like a Con 10M, it has like some crazy ergonomics that you have to get used to. The keyboard layout of this is actually very, very close to a modern Selmer's. Pinky keys are obviously different. The mechanism is wildly different, but as far as playability, main stack keys, I could pick this up interchangeably between my Super Action 80 and not notice much of a difference. In fact, the pearls on this one are actually nicer, better condition. So we'll definitely be getting this overhauled. Neck seems to be in good shape. I actually did that to the cork. The cork was dry rotting, but I wanted to do a quick play test. There's not a pad on there that isn't leaking. However, what I've always loved about American vintage saxophones, even when they're at their worst, they still inherently want to play. So you could still feel like the core sound, like the response is not there at all. You can't go through notes quickly, but each note is sounding and it's telling you what it wants to do. So I'm really looking forward to getting this fixed up. And no pull down on the neck either, which supposedly these are actually interchangeable with modern Selmer necks. Similar bores, I believe. The other thing that came with this, some vintage reeds that will not be played. Actually found this interesting. The original lyre screw is still on the horn too, which is cool. And the original lyre is here, where it's still a rounded bar. The rounded bar goes into the rounded lyre holder, which that in of itself, I mean, if you've ever been in marching bands with any horn, I guess.
Is that the thing you put your music in?
Yeah, you just clip your music stand right up here. It's a small music stand. Marching band guys are used to seeing these, but I think it was post Mark 6, Salmer Mark 6, they squared these off. So I just a goofy little thing I took note of. Just a rounded bar. So that was cool. Still very springy too, so. And vintage reeds, like I said, I can't make out the reed company. Well, that's faded away from time. But the other cool thing about this is a Bobby Dukoff. It is a fluted chamber. Can you see the inside of that, the grooves in there? This mouthpiece came out in 19...
Turn it to my left a little bit more. Okay, we can see it a little bit now.
Okay. Yeah, this is a fluted chamber. These came out in 1952. So probably about a year or two after this horn was actually manufactured. These are actually pretty well respected and sought after mouthpieces in their own right. So that was cool. So I mean, that's basically it. And this just fell in. Oh, one last thing. I won't use this particular neck strap because basically metal hook, and that goes with the, this is hardened steel. And whenever you have a neck hook like this going into a brass hook ring, this will wear that down. The steel.
Is that going to create like, would that create like a really like unpleasant vibration too, I would think?
Nah, you would, no, the vibrations you wouldn't even notice or feel.
Yeah.
But it's just, this is a much harder metal.
It just seems like a very noisy neck strap.
Well, I mean, there is that. But I did kind of find this mechanism fascinating.
Because every horn player I've ever worked with plays with, like, it's all like a cord. It's
most usually, yeah. Modern ones are.
That looks like a bolo tie.
but it's kind of interesting, this mechanism. You just push a button.
It's a bolo tie.
It's, I mean, honestly, if it weren't for this stupid thing, and if the strap were a little bit more ergonomic, a little thicker,
yeah,
I would probably use this because, well, maybe I'll mess around with, I'll leave this one as is just because it is vintage, but this mechanism is pretty cool. Pretty sturdy.
It definitely is a bolo tie though, which is not bad, but it is a bolo tie.
So, yeah, just a quick little rundown of everything real fast one more time. It's a gorgeous horn. I'm excited to have one of these back in my arsenal again. I had a 1930s era, it was the first Bisher era Bundy. It's the same type that Wayne Shorter used for many, many years. And that horn predated this one by like 20 years. Feel was essentially the same. They were still aristocrat stencils. But what made those horns cool, since they were made during wartime and materials were scarce, it was an exceptionally light horn, like probably a pound or two lighter than this horn. And as a tenor, it was comparable to like my Yamaha Alto. Very, very light tenor. I'd never come across another one like it. So this is the horn it was based off of. Much more substantial and more sought after. Can't say it's better or worse player yet. So I'm excited. I mean, from what I've seen so far, I'm excited to get this thing up and running and just have a secondary professional saxophone that I could use interchangeably with my Selmer. With, there's no high F sharp key on this, so there's a couple different fingerings, but that's no big deal. I think this will be a great horn. So, Mark, thank you once again for this deal I couldn't pass up. Took him up on that offer without a second thought. $80. Thanks, man.